We'll start. The next, Mooladhara Chakra, the root center. This is the energy of pure greed. I can say pure expression. This is the chakra from which the opening starts happening. See, when you wake up from the dream, when the energy gets centered in Mooladhara Chakra. Whenever the energy gets centered in Mooladhara Chakra, you wake up. If all your energy gets centered, see, one or two thoughts, if it turns and touches the Mooladhara, you wake up from ordinary dream. Your whole awareness, if it turns and touches the Mooladhara, you wake up from this dream. You can see that is why whenever you have a very fantasy dream, you will wake up. You think, oh God, such a wonderful dream. Any fantasy dream, you will just wake up because the energy has turned and touched the Mooladhara Chakra. Same way you can see in your life, whenever you feel, oh God, this is an ecstasy, too much, something amazing. Those moments you will see, you will have a clarity, it is not going to be permanent. It is not that only that moment, you are realizing for those few moments, everything is dream. How many of you in the peak ecstasy felt that this is not going to remain last long? Understand, this is the truth. Whenever your awareness, your energy turns and touches the Mooladhara, you will have the experience, whatever you are in is a dream. Whatever you are in is a dream. Master is the ultimate fantasy. All your fantasy, the fulfillment of all your fantasy is a master. Or he is the ultimate nightmare. I can describe in both ways. Whether as a nightmare or as a fantasy, he will wake you up. If you feel I am a fantasy, the path for you is a devotion. Through devotion, you will be liberated. If you feel I am a nightmare, the path for you is a vairagya. Vairagya is the path. Vairagya means the non-attachment. Through that you will be liberated. This is the way you can choose whether to follow the path of devotion or to follow the path of the renunciation. You can choose. Understand, whether it is a deep greed or a deep fear, you will have the clarity that this is not true. You will be awakened. There is an automatic awakening system in you. Just like if the pain is too much, automatically you will fall into coma. You don't have to do anything. If the pain is unbearable, you will just fall into coma. The automatic system is there. Same way, if the suffering or if the conflict with you and what you have created, if it is too much, you will be awakened. This is the science of awakening. Whenever the conflict between you and what you have created is too much, you will be awakened. Whether it is through fantasy or through fear. Whether it is through greed or through fear. In the night, you can see in the dream, whether it is fantasy dream or a nightmare, you will wake up. When that conflict is too much, when the give and take is too much with you and what you expressed. In the nighttime dream is what is you have expressed. Whenever the conflict is too much, you will wake up. Same way, even in this world, whenever you think it is too much of ecstasy, it is too much, unimaginable, if the pure greed energy is expressing, suddenly you will have a glimpse, oh God, it's not going to stand. It's not going to last long. Not only that experience or that situation or that moment, you will see the whole thing with which you are having that fantasy feeling, the fantastic feeling is not going to stand. It's like a spider. How the spider expresses its own web from itself. It expresses its own web. Same way, this is the web created by you. It is from your very mind stuff. This web is created. When you have too much of fear or too much of greed, you break it. When You can't handle the conflict, when you can't handle the play anymore. See, you did this whole thing playfully. You ask, what is this, Swamiji? What are you talking? I am telling you the truth. How playfully you create a dream and enter into it. With that same playful mood only you create this web, the cosmos, and relax into it. When it is too much, you are not able to handle this play anymore, you wake up. When we experience pure greed, you can wake up. See, in the last session, I tried to give you the glimpse of pure energy, pure fear. The pure fear. Same way, this session, this technique will give you the glimpse of pure greed by awakening the Muladhara Chakra. A different technique. This will give you the glimpse of pure greed. When the pure greed happens also, your consciousness level will raise. And you will start seeing it's all just layer. Please understand, again I am going back to the first chakra, Ajna Chakra. Seeing through the eyes. When the energy is more centered on the scene will overrule you. It will command you. When the energy is more on the seer can change the scene. When the energy is more on the object of the greed, that will disturb your life. When the energy is more on the pure greed energy, pure greed, you will wake up. You will not be touched anymore by it. So now all we need to do is enter into the process of awakening the pure greed, means Muladhara Chakra. Pure energy, lust energy of Muladhara Chakra. I wanted to make one more statement. There is a question from Guru Prem. Yesterday I was just going through these questions. He asked, if the Vairagya is deep boredom, is Viagra the excitement? I want you to know, I just wanted to pass an idea. Actually this is directly related to this Muladhara Chakra. You have certain amount of biomemory in you. Biomemory of lust or fear or greed with which you made your body. See, when you make your body, 30% lust, 40% fear, and 20% worry. Something like this, you accumulate you make the karmas, and out of that you make the body. So if your body is prepared with a particular amount of lust, that is your biomemory, prarabdha, we call it prarabdha. In English, I want to use the word biomemory. With that particular amount of lust, if you have made your body, that is your lust. How much your body expresses, acts for that biomemory is your lust. But through pornography or through some way, if you start comparing with somebody else's lust with you, you will always have a problem. I am not up to that mark, or I am little more than that. When you start comparing, you have corrupted the lust. And please understand, any medicine or external help you add to improve your lust action is going to dangerously disturb your consciousness. It is going to dangerously disturb your consciousness. Means you are adding agamya. Instead of relaxing or releasing your prarabdha, you see, you come down, you have 40% of lust engram, you think, let me finish it and get rid of it. That's the way you come down. And after coming down, when you add some medical help or any external help, naturally you are accumulating agamya with the greed, with the lust. Agamya accumulated in the lust will directly damage the body and consciousness. Please understand? Directly it will damage. The karma, biomemory which you brought, live it. I am not saying don't live it. Live it. But anything added to it directly will disturb your consciousness. So, be very clear. And you don't have to compare your lust with somebody else's lust. Your action with somebody else's action. It is purely your individual experience. There are some more questions on this subject. Lust and greed and the Muladhara Chakra. Somebody is asking, Guru Premuli is asking, is there an answer to chicken and the egg question? Understand, egg is first. Egg never came from chicken, it came from hen. I answered. If you have any question on Mooladhara, you can write it and give now. I'll answer. I'll throw some more light on whatever concepts I've expressed. Then we'll go for meditation. Are greed and desire interchange? I'm not able to read the next line. Oh, interchangeable. See, I can say there is no difference between greed and desire. It's a different words, that's all. I can say pure greed and ordinary greed. Pure greed is the just overflowing energy. Ordinary greed is when it is associated with some object. All I am trying to do in these 2 days is trying to give you the deep ecstasy or the experience without objects, so that you are liberated from objects. I am not saying don't live with the objects. When you go back, you can live with the objects. You can live with things, but have the freedom. See, having the freedom from objects and persons is the ultimate freedom. You should live it to understand. Should live it to understand. I feel so poor, so sympathy towards the people who are caught with the objects and persons. I feel, oh God, he's in mess. It's an amazing liberation. You should see how the life is. It's like if you are a billionaire and see a poor guy in a slum or in a small village, how you feel bad. Same way only I feel when I see people who are caught in the objects or with the persons or memories. Understand, sometimes you may not be directly caught with a particular person, but the memory. Only one person's memory liberates you. That's enlightened person's memory. The memory with the enlightened being, that only liberates you. That's what we call devotion. And any memory with anybody else is suffering. Could you please explain masculine and feminine energy and how it relates to people who are gay and lesbian? This is a very deep question. Understand, I'll explain the science of birth. Usually, in the cosmos, how the birth happens, if somebody has spent one life as a male birth, male body, they decide to take a female birth. They decide to take a female birth. I always saw, more than 99%, it's always, if you are male this birth, you are surely female in the last birth. I don't know why, but that is maybe the suffering is too much. So they jump to the other gender. If they just jump to the other gender, but the taste for the other experience, for example, last Janma somebody was male, this Janma they take the female body, but the taste for the female body is too much in that person, he comes with the female body and the taste for the female body. He comes with a male body and the taste for the male body. That is where this problem starts. These gay and lesbian relationships are the gay and lesbian beings. Another one thing is there, in Tantra we explain, anybody who is growing has to go through different layers. Between 0 to 7, the child will be enjoying its own body. It will be just enjoying its own body. And between 7 and 14, the child will enjoy its gender's body. It will enjoy friendliness, understand? Not sex, not lust, friendliness. So the male child will enjoy the male body. The female child will enjoy the female body. Then after 14, the opposite gender, lust starts. First, enjoying its own presence, then enjoying the friendliness, then enjoying the physical sex. Body and mind, this is the way it gets matured. And according to Tantra, after 21, you are supposed to enjoy everything, what we call brahmacharya. See, 0 to 7, enjoying your own body. 7 to 14, enjoying the friendliness, the body of the same gender. 14 to 21, enjoying the opposite sex. After 21, enjoying the whole world. This is the way Tantra wants human beings to flower. Our Gurukuls were done for that only. By 21, you are in brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means enjoying everything. You just connect with the moon, you just connect with the sun, you just connect with the whole thing, and you are in ecstasy. Nothing else is required. You are in ecstasy with everything. This is the way the growth is supposed to happen. I can say, human beings who are not able to cross that 7 to 14, the mental age, they are also stuck in the gay space or lesbian space. Two kinds of people. People who are stuck between the 7 to 14, they can be healed, they can be helped, and they can be made to straight. But the people who came down with a different desire, they can't be healed. They have to live their freedom, or they have to live that kind of same lifestyle. No other way. Does enlightenment change the dynamic between us and husband and wife? No. It doesn't change the dynamic. I can say, when you are enlightened, you only share that energy with the other person. Other person is elevated, just like Ramakrishna and Sharada Devi. Just like Ramakrishna and Sharada Devi. One difficulty is there, if the other person is completely against, dead against, then nothing can be done. Guru Prem, you won't have that problem. I am answering the questioner. You won't have that problem. But if the person is completely opposite, then the problem is there. If that person is little sympathetic, you won't have a problem. Even little sympathetic towards, you won't have a problem. You will only share and inspire the other person and elevate. Why in the Hindu tradition and some other religions are women banned from temples praying, etc., when they are having their menstrual cycle? Oh God, this is a... Let me be very honest. I tried to consciously scan so much about this question. I am not able to find any justification. I am not able to find any justification. Usually I always support the Vedic tradition, Hindu tradition. I am not able to find any justification. So in all our temples I am allowing. In all our temples I am allowing. Women can come in all the days. They can come and pray. I am not able to find any justification. Maybe when they created that idea, at that time there might have been some reason. That is what I can tell. Now I don't find any justification or any reason. So in all our temples I am allowing. As far as I am concerned, you can do meditation or puja or anything. I have no problem. But in many traditional temples they don't allow. Maybe when the tradition was created, there would have been some reason. Are greed and desire interchangeable? I answered. I thought energy was supposed to travel up the spine and through the Sahasrara for enlightenment. I heard you say, when the energy turns down to Mooladhara, we are awakened. Now I am confused about these points. When you heard that the energy should travel to the top to get enlightened, that idea presented was totally different. Now when I say energy has to turn towards the Mooladhara to get enlightened, you can say this is awareness, that is energy. Two different expression, same word is used. Whether this or that, you will become enlightened. Only in between it doesn't happen. If you are hanging around like a Trishangu Surga. What's the definition of lust? Is it purely sexual, or how do you compare lust with someone? What is the question? Who put the question? No, it's a sexual only. When I use the word lust, I meant by sexual only. Do you mean sexual performance? That's what I meant, sexual performance. I did not mean anything else. Finally, what do you say? One should have lust or not? Oh God. I am not saying you should not have or should have. What prarabdha you brought, leave it. If you have, enjoy it. But don't try to enrich it, especially from external sources. Do not add something externally. It will terribly damage your system. It's because, see, if your body would have been prepared for 100 activity, in that 40% engram is lust, 30% is some other activity, 20% is some other activity. If you increase the lust activity from 40 to 80 by the external boosters, your body will not be able to handle other activities. Then you start creating all kinds of, especially the diseases like cancer, or self-torturing, just shrinking, just destroying the body starts happening through this kind of external supports. So I am not saying you should not have or you should have. Just if you brought it, leave it, enjoy it. If you don't have, don't bother. But don't have comparison with somebody else's activity or performance or lifestyle. When you have a comparison with somebody else's activity or lifestyle or performance, the trouble starts. Your lust is purely your lust. It is such a personal, intimate thing. Why do you want to put that in the market with somebody else's lust? Why do you want to compare with somebody else's performance, somebody else's action? So, just enjoy. It is your own very property. It is your intimate experience. The problem is people don't have anymore any idea about intimacy or the sanctity associated to intimacy. It's no more sacred. It's only utility, a pleasure experience, or just a, what to say, all right, I don't want to use any more words. If I use, I'll use strong words. How to be liberated from lust? You don't have to bother so much about liberation to the lust. If the pure energy in the Mooladhara is awakened, I am not saying you will be liberated from the lust, you will be above the lust. If you want, play the game. When you don't want, relax from it. You will be above it. So the liberation is some way condemning the lust energy. Just like how you condemn fear, you condemn lust. Because it is a kind of a dependency. And you don't want to, especially male have so much of ego, you don't want to be dependent. So understand, going beyond lust should happen for the right reason. Not just because your ego is hurting. It's dependency. For wrong reason, if you try to go beyond the lust, you will again and again have suffering in other planes, in other places. Understand, even if it is the right action, wrong reason, you will have a problem. I used to tell a small story. 3 mad people wanted to be released from the madhouse. They went to the doctor. Doctor said, come tomorrow morning, I'll have a test for you guys, then I'll decide. Next day morning they came, there was an empty swimming pool, no water. Doctor said, jump. First guy jumped and broke his leg. Doctor said, you can't go out, go. He said, told the second guy, jump. Second guy jumped, broke the hand. Said, you can't go out, go. You have to be here. Third guy, he called and said, jump. Third guy said, no, I won't jump. Then doctor said, you can go out, come on. He was settling all the paperwork, he was doing all the paperwork, about to be released. Doctor casually asked, why you did not jump? That guy said, you know, I don't know swimming. Understand? Right action, wrong reason. So, even for the wrong reason, you try to go beyond the lust, you will be in suffering. You will be creating a mess. So even don't entertain even the subtle hatred. Even subtle hatred against fear or lust, you will be caught in that. You will be just caught. It's like a Vali, understand? In Ramayana, you heard the story of Ramayana. Vali is a monkey who has a boon. Anybody who stands in front of him for fight, half of their energy will come to him. Your lust and fear is like a Vali. If you stand directly in front of it for fight, half of your energy will go there. Then naturally he is only going to win. Because he already has his energy and half of your energy, what will happen? So you are fighting a losing war. You are fighting losing war. So don't have even a subtle hatred. See, you hate because it is a dependency. That's where the problem starts. That's where the problem starts. So don't have hatred. It's like purifying the fear. Just like purifying the fear, purify the lust. Try to have a pure experience of pure greed without the object. Maybe these techniques will help you. That will leave you above, beyond lust. Is lust connected with aggression? I can say lust is nothing but an aggression. It is aggression. When it is not aggression anymore, it will become pure romance. Such a beautiful experience. Pure romance is like a flower. And lust is always an aggression. With pure romance, not even seeing is required. Not even seeing is required. Somebody complains about this Rasalila of Sri Krishna. He is a playboy. Krishna is having so many girlfriends. What is this? What is going on? He is worshipped as ideal. Understand, the whole thing, Rasalila, happened when Krishna was not even 10. By the time he is at 10, he has already gone to, he has left for Mathura. Please understand, the whole thing happened below the age of 10. Then understand, it's a pure friendliness. It was not lust. It was pure friendliness. The whole thing was a pure romance. It was never lust. There's a big difference between these two. The Bhagavatam beautifully describes. How many of you read Bhagavatam? You should read. If you find time, you should read in your language. I can say, I have read thousands of mythological scriptures, mythological literature. Not only Hindu mythology, even the Jain mythology, Buddhist mythology, and some Christian literature, in Sufi literature. So many mythological literatures I have read, but nothing like Bhagavatam. It is just essence of pure romance, the pure energy. It is just nothing like Bhagavatam. Somebody asked me, my biographer asked me, Swamiji, how you want your biography to be presented? I told, if you can, read Bhagavatam and internalize. With that ecstasy, write me. That is the way I wanted to be presented. The best way, if you want to understand the pure expression of a enlightened being landing on the planet Earth and playing, Bhagavatam should be read. Bhagavatam beautifully describes this whole scene. Somebody questions the Rishi, Bhagavatakara. He was questioned, who recites Bhagavatam, he was questioned, what do you mean about saying that the connection between connection between Krishna and Gopikas are not lust, but the connection between the Sisubala and his, what do you call, courtesans, what do you call, or court dancers, courtesans, it is a pure lust. What do you mean by that? Because Sisubala also had 16,000 courtesans and Krishna had 16,000 Gopikas. What do you mean by that? Then beautifully Bhagavatakara describes, see, the relationship between the bridge between Krishna and Gopikas is a knowledge, pure knowledge that Krishna is ultimate. Nothing else. Love was the bridge. Knowledge was the bridge. Nothing else. There was no give and take. But with the Sisubala and courtesans, it was money. It was security. The bridge was security and money, not the knowledge and bhakti. So what is the bridge between you and your wife? Find out. Then you will understand whether you are living like a Krishna and Krishna's Gopikas or like Sisubala or Sisubala's courtesans. No, that is the truth. Understand, whether you are living like a Krishna, if only money and security is the bridge, then you are living like Sisubala. If the love and understanding, knowledge is the bridge, you are living like Krishna. This is the difference between pure romance and lust. See, it is a practical life. It's a practical life. and see how your life is. And it's such an amazing expression. I can say the best expression, the best biography written about an enlightened master is Bhagavatam. I have read so many biographies of enlightened masters, so many, but nothing compared to Bhagavatam. I don't know whether 5 or 10,000 years before they wrote. I don't know how 10,000 years before such a peak of consciousness was reached by human beings. See, unless you experience this kind of that subtle, pure romance and all, you can't describe it. Experiencing pure romance is the peak of human consciousness. That's the peak of human consciousness. I can say at least 5,000 years before, in India, people have experienced that peak. That's why I say this civilization is out of great visionaries. The civilization is born out of great visionaries. And try to read Bhagavatam, you may understand what's the meaning of that pure romance. The difference between lust and romance. You can say this simple scale, go and measure it. The bridge between you and your wife, is it just security and money? Or is it understanding and love? Whole problem is solved. What to do when these things are at their peak? Am I right? I'm not. At their peak. Direct solution is, I'll work with you now. We will work on root chakra and make it pure energy. That's a direct solution. No other direct solution. Is the prarabdha of lust is different between husband and wife? Oh God, that is where the whole mess starts. That is where the whole mess starts. At least in the West you have a freedom to change. In India that is also not there. These fellows are caught. To tell you honestly, I don't have a practical answer for it. Really. I tried that some way, technically we can alter the energy and all those things. Even then, the willingness to change is also not there. That is where the problem starts. If both the person feel one person's prarabdha is more or less than the other person, they need to help each other. Then problem gets settled. Then they can be brought to meditation or some techniques and process, and it just completely gets healed. But even if that is not happening, it's a mess only. That's why I say in the modern day, marriage is the greatest calamity. No, really. That's the greatest chaos can happen to you. What to do? Nothing can be done. When does life begin? Before conception, at conception, or birth? During birth. When the umbilical cord, you see the prana connection between you and your mother, when that is disconnected, then the energy, when the soul enters into your being. Till then, you are surviving through the mother's prana. Your heart may be beating, everything may be functioning, but the individual soul has not entered into it. Individual soul enters only during the birth. When the umbilical cord starts moving, the movement of the umbilical cord starts happening. That is the moment individual soul enters. Then you may ask how Prahlada, how Abhimanyu. Tomorrow you ask this question, I will answer. Tomorrow you will be working on death. That time I will answer. Who put this quote? Manisha? Oh God. Just now I saw you making my eyes small. I saw blue sky around behind you and saw 4 different faces, like 4 different images. What is that? When you look through the eyes, you will see different experiences. Not only that, you will see an empty person, an emptiness talking to you. That emptiness is the fullness.